Welcome back to Beards and Brews. Hey, if you haven't already, be sure to hit those subscribe and follow buttons and ring those notification sounds. Not only does it help us out, but you'll know exactly when we have another one brewing. Fellas, this week's feature is going to be the unbearable weight of massive talent.
With a fucking immediate cutaway to Con Air, I'm on board.
I was a little taken aback. I was like, okay, this is what they're going to do. They're going to give me more of, what's his name from Con Air?
What was his name? Bunny in the Box.
Just more bunny in the box, which I guess I got a teeny bit, but the hell with
You
it.
get a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first current movie that we've done in a little bit, I think the last one was Scary Movies to Tell in the Dark, or whatever the hell the name of that one was. But this is
Yeah.
kind of the movie that this podcast was built to talk about, right? Like, I feel like this was 3 years in the making.
I mean, totally. You know, it's incredibly meta. It's incredibly Nick Cage. And it might be a little unbearable.
See, that's where I'm going to disagree. The first 15 minutes, I'm with you. It was fucking cringe. I was like, oh my God. But I think the idea was to really set the tone for how much you're supposed to think that Nick Cage is a shithead and obsessed with working. Perhaps he is. Who knows? I don't. But then he gets this huge redemption arc of a hero, and it's fucking wow. It's just a roller coaster ride that I was all in for.
So yeah, I think I'm actually gonna have to lean toward Brady's end of things with this. Now, the extra Nick Cage, little Nicky I call him, anytime he's on the screen, I'm cringing straight up. Like, it's just not a good look. But
It's rough. Yeah.
I had a great time through this, honestly.
I want to say that I did have a good time. And at the beginning, my hopes were actually extremely high. But, like, in my mind, I felt that this movie was trying really hard to be a movie, if that makes sense. Like, this is such a unique opportunity, right? Like, this is an actor trying to portray what the public thinks of this particular person. But the movie is trying to just, like, be a movie. I don't know how else to put that in words.
So you think it's awkward that an actor is trying to act as himself not acting?
Dude, go full John Malkovich. I don't fucking care. You know, that's kind of what I wanted, but for some reason, like, all the fictional parts of this movie was just throwing me the fuck off.
Okay, I can get that because, like, it's like, oh, look, it's Nick Cage and his family. And you go, that ain't his family. Why is he Nick Cage and that ain't his family? Where's his death metal son?
You mean Kal-El and the Brady Bunch?
Yes.
But yeah, this movie, if you haven't wrapped your head around it, stars Nick Cage as Nick Cage.
And man, oh man, I fucking love this opener. We get, boom, Con Air. Just the end of it with the fucking song. It's all swelled. There he is with his mullet flowing. And then the camera pulls away and shows two people sitting on the couch, fucked up, watching a Nick Cage movie going, yeah. And I went, yeah.
You can already relate. It's been not even a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, this first scene, I kind of forgot that it existed until like halfway through the movie when we actually get going. Like, I forgot about these two, but yeah, it's like a teenage girl and her boyfriend or something down in Spain or somewhere, and they just get yoinked up at the apartment.
And it's kind of like that little bit of spice that sets most of the back half of the movie off. And in hindsight, I'm just like, man, I didn't want any of this. It didn't gel with me.
You're not
I can see why. Like, it definitely, and they even talk about it meta-wise when they're discussing making the movie. He's like, oh, someone needs to get kidnapped. That way there can be an action thriller, something for everybody. And the Pedro Pascal's character is going, no, that doesn't work. And he's like, trust me, it's going to work. And by the end of it, to me anyways, I went, okay, I thought that was going to be stupid, but getting to see Nick Cage whip out the gold fucking 45s and unleash, worth it.
There's so many little things like that where you're like, it's not as ham-fisted as I kind of would have expected it to be, but there's a lot of times where you're like, he's doing the thing from the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just Leo pointing at the TV. You know, and I got that too, for sure, because he would sprinkle in lines from my favorite movies of his, you know, like The Rock and etc. But just like I mentioned earlier, that juxtaposition between, like, we know that he's going to play this version of himself, but also surrounded by, like, this fictional universe. So this isn't necessarily the Cage we're wanting to see. It's like a fictionalized version of a fictionalized person.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, you're right.
It's not the Cage that we deserve, but it's the Nicolas Cage that we needed right now.
Basically, it's just like Just for Men Nick Cage opposite wacky coked out Nick Cage from that interview that everybody saw on YouTube.
Yes.
So basically where we're at from the start of this on the Nick Cage side of things is he's Nick Cage, and he's going back and forth with what his next move in his career is going to be. He's taking his career super seriously. There's a role that he's really trying to get. It could be like a role of a lifetime. There's this other thing, I don't know. He's going broke. He's got like a $600,000 debt to this hotel that he's been living in for the last year. Things aren't great for him.
There are like these little flourishes of like, you know, the real Nick Cage. Like, you know, he's in debt. He's doing all this stuff. He's trying to say, oh, he's for the art. But really, he's pumping out all these movies because he needs the money. I feel like there's something there. But there it is again. Like, he's trying to support this fictional family. Like, his ex-wife is a turd. His daughter's kind of a bitch. You know, he actually has this like weird breakdown moment, right? Like, if you've ever seen Mandy, boy, does this man know how to fucking break down. But in this movie, he has this like semi-sweet moment, right? So he's having this like 16th birthday or something. He's smashed out of his mind because of all these debts that are on his shoulders. He goes to the party and he recites a song that he wrote for his daughter, completely out of love, not cynical in the least.
But then he turns into fucking drunk Bruce Springsteen and just starts wailing.
Oh, yes. I will say, he is having a sweet sentimental moment, but his family, so used to Nick Cage being Nick Cage, don't believe it's real. And so they're just like, dude, quit. You're just making this about you. And he's like, oh, God damn it, no, I'm not. This is about y'all. I love you.
I mean, I'm honestly going to side on the side of the family on this one, because that was a song that it seemed to me like he made up on the fucking spot right there.
On the spot.
Yeah, like, it started out like, okay, he had a few good lines, like, in his mind, and then it just ran off the rails. Also, he's hammered right there.
Yeah.
So, all of the points that the ex-wife made earlier, like, they're pretty valid, right? Only focusing on his career, not actually being prepared to, you know, rise up and be a husband or a father. They're kind of right.
He just wants his kid to grow up to be Superman. Is that too fucking hard to ask?
Yeah, come on. Fucking do it, Cal-Elena.
He wants his daughter to grow up and be him, but she doesn't appreciate the cabinet of Dr. Caligari enough.
I thought that was a bit of a stretch. Like, I get the joke, and it hit me. I was like, all right. And then they just like drilled it in like you were just mashing a fucking half an orange with a little juicer thing.
Orange juice.
That scene does take a long time. And he drops the fucking name of that movie, 4 or 5 times in just that one scene.
It's like your buddy who like is kind of friends with someone vaguely famous and just brings him up in every conversation.
Back when I was hanging out with the singer for Deep Blue Something, you remember those guys, right? And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's?
Oh, that's them?
Yeah.
Now I know.
All right.
Meanwhile, Nicolas Cage is being offered $1 million, and his desperation is going to really drive him to accept it.
He calls up his agent and is like, hey, you remember that thing that guy wrote a screenplay in Mallorca? Yeah, tell him I'm in. You know, I'm all about the art.
Yeah, and can we talk about his agent? It's played by Neil Patrick Harris.
I just thought that was like Neil Patrick Harris being a buddy of his. Straight
Really?
up. Yeah.
I didn't think he was playing himself.
I don't know, like when Pedro Pascal showed up, I thought he was going to be playing Pedro Pascal. I didn't know what I was in for this.
Yeah.
So who knows? I could be wrong.
This was a missed opportunity, in my opinion, though, for them to have replaced MPH, as much as I enjoy him, with Matthew McConaughey and had him going, I'm going to get you that TiVo, Tuggers. Come on, Tugger nuts.
Confirmed, according to IMDb, Neil Patrick Harris does not play himself. He plays Richard Fink, who, sure, that's probably an agent's name.
Well, either way, the whole idea of him taking this job for, we'll soon learn that's Pedro Pascal, is from Neil Patrick Harris. And for some reason, he's still playing his part from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Facts. They go to like a Turkish bath or whatever the fuck this is, and they're getting beat with just like a part of a tree. Like it's got leaves and branches,
Like
and they're just getting
yeah.
beat with it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good for your circulation or something. It looks like a good time to me, I guess.
This is a good idea. I think this movie is littered with good ideas and poor execution. Like, these two fellas, especially in the case of Nick Cage, he's fucking Nick Cage. Like, imagine this entire scene being played 100% straight while they're getting the shit kicked out of them by the masseuses.
No, yeah, it's very Naked Gun, because every time that he's talking, Neil Patrick Harris is taking it like a sadomasochist. He's like, whap, yeah. And they hit Nick, and he's like, God damn, fucking quit. Fuck, ow.
All right, so we do get a little bit more information before we really get into the buddy-buddy. The girl from before that we saw in the very first scene and not once since, that was evidently the president of Catalonia's daughter, and the president is evidently running for re-election. She has been kidnapped, and someone from the CIA, I guess, was supposed to come, and
oh my God.
I don't know. I'm confused why they just said, oh, it's Nick Cage. Fuck it, let's use him.
Well, because we needed that scene where these two inept actors, CIA operatives are like, wow, is that Nick Cage? That totally doesn't destroy our entire operation or nothing. I'm gonna go pretend I'm a fan.
Love Croods 2. You ever seen Croods 2?
Oh my God.
And this was one of those scenes where we're talking about cringe, where Nicolas Cage is just ad-libbing with this lady, but he doesn't give a fuck.
No, not at all. And it's so palatable because, like, I don't know who that is. Like, the bald lady. I know who the other guy is. Ike Barinholtz. He's from Mad TV. Anytime they're on screen, it's bad. It is just flat out not good. It's cheap. It almost makes it feel like this entire CIA B-plot was tacked on at the last minute.
I honestly didn't mind them at all. Like, I didn't have any strong opinion. They were there. They were doing their job. I moved on.
They definitely, I don't enjoy them. I think that they were the weakest part of the film, but I know that they need them to drive plot, and that's all they're there for. They get maybe altogether 2 full minutes of screen time, and then they literally get killed off.
I guess
You think they're weaker than fucking Lil Nicky?
Oh, dude, I fucking love Little Nicky. He is the embodiment of Nicolas Cage's ego, and I love that he's deformed looking in the face and that he's just so over the goddamn top and full of himself. I fucking loved him.
I do kind of love how they totally forgot to de-age his body. So he has this, like, fucking 30-year-old Nick Cage head on bloated 50-year-old Nick Cage body.
It is kind of like if Nick Cage just had like a little Ric Flair following him around. You're a rock star, woo! Styling and profiling.
You tell him Nicky smooches good.
Thanks.
So fucking
Thumbs
weird.
up. Yeah.
He makes out with himself.
That caught me off guard. Because that was an actual genius moment. Because I was like, okay, that's exactly how that kind of ego would work.
Fellas, is it gay if you make out with yourself?
Is it gay if you make out with your BFF?
Speaking of BFFs, what I've got here today is from two BFFs, those being Pizza Port Brewing Company and Stone. This is a collaboration between those two breweries. This is Beer Friends Forever, evidently. BFF, it's an India Pale Ale, 6.5% alcohol by volume. So this is your basic sort of classic American style IPA. Leans more toward the West Coast than anything, but you've definitely got like some of those bright green floral hoppy flavors, a little bit resinous. Not a whole lot of like malty sweetness to center down on. This is crisp, this is clean, this isn't hazy, this isn't fruity, it's not tropical. This is a classic style IPA. You want a solid IPA? This is one for you.
Well, speaking of something solid, Nick Cage has this solid deal for $1 million. Now, I did kind of enjoy that he didn't quite know who was going to pay him the $1 million just to be his, like, Nick Cagey self, you know, just for a fan. And, like, he goes to this island and he's just like, oh, where is everybody? Oh, I'm just on this fucking boat. I bet this guy that wants to pay me the money is just this weird fucko. I don't know. All the while, he's the guy driving the boat.
Yeah, he's like, oh my god, is he gonna want me to like suck his dick? Is he gonna want me to like suck his wife's dick? What's he want me to do? Because I'm not into any of that, but you know, I want this role.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed just that, the whole sucking the dick thing. He's telling Javi, hey, you tell Javi I'm not fucking his wife, I'm not doing any weird creepy shit, nothing like that. And he goes, I am Javi. And he just immediately fist into the palm bows like it never happened.
Like he immediately put the bunny back in the box.
He's like, oops.
Didn't mean to take the bunny out of the box. Sorry, boss.
Yeah.
But no, Javi is played by Pedro Pascal, and
yes, sir.
Man, these two. You kind of don't know where this relationship is going, but I love where it ends up, and we will get there.
I am going to give all due respect to Pedro Pascal for being the best actor in this entire movie, which is insane.
Dude, their fucking bromance chemistry through this entire movie was ear to ear smile on me as soon as they start fucking hanging out. Just the lines he says about him, just the fucking shenanigans they get in, from the shootout later to the acid trip to the wall scene. My
The wall scene was
God.
good.
I love the
These
wall
two are fucking flawless together. I fucking love every second that they're on the screen as a unit.
On
But-
Cage unit.
Early on in their like sort of relationship or whatever you want to call it, he's just hanging out by the pool. Nick is. Pedro Pascal shows up, and then shortly behind them, there's some other people. They just sort of start, I don't want to say like fangirling, but kind of fangirling over him, like talking about how much they love The Rock, and like, hey, tell me how you made. He just gets up, he has a beer in his hand, and he just walks straight into the pool and just sits down on the bottom. It's just like, I'm so fucking done with this. I'm an actor. I don't need this.
Ah, yes. Nothing says Nick Cage movie like an attempt at his own life.
I mean, his would-be suicide is immediately rebounded with the fact that Javi gets him up the next day, takes him to the cliffs, and is like, you are an actor. Look, we are acting right now. And he basically performs a scene with Nicolas Cage and reinvigorates him during a cliff diving stunt. And it's fucking wonderful. I mean, clearly a stunt man, but still.
This is definitely the most enjoyable part of the movie because there's no B-plot, there's no bullshit happening. Like, when these fellas are together, there's a genuine sense of awe from Pedro Pascal towards Nick Cage. Like, dude, this is fucking Nicolas Cage. Let's do some cool shit, you know?
As far as I'm concerned, this is the actual start of the movie when they start doing actual cool shit. But like, it's not just like buddy from here on out. Nick Cage is here for a reason, and he has to, I guess, compensate that with becoming friends with someone maybe he shouldn't be friends with. I don't know. We'll see. It becomes a little bit complex down the road.
Well, we can actually kind of go over it pretty quickly. Remember, the CIA got involved. They assume that Pedro Pascal's the guy who kidnapped the president's daughter. So they kind of hijack Nick Cage mid-schmoozing to just be like, hey, why don't you just be our like little agent, snoop on our guy here that wants to be your best friend, and, you know, cause that whole conflict of interest, because movies like this dictate, you know, Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal actually become friends.
How did they become friends, you might ask? Paddington 2.
That was a fucking solid joke. Like, as soon as he said, like, oh, he's like, what's your third favorite movie or whatever? He's like, Paddington 2. And Nick Cage had the same reaction I did. It's like, fuck out of here.
It's so good because, Eric, you said he's like, fuck out of here. Smash cut immediately to him on the couch, sobbing like a baby, going, Paddington 2 is amazing.
I have heard so many good things about Paddington 2, by the way. Like, legitimately, I hear great things about Paddington 2.
Probably not as good as Crude's 2, but here we are.
Yeah, but, I mean, Emma Stone, what can you do without Emma Stone, right? I don't know. Is Emma Stone in Paddington 2? Probably not.
We get our first little glimpse at quote-unquote spy Cage, and he's completely inept, and it's very humorous and cute at how fucking absolutely inept he is.
It almost comes off like an SNL skit or something. Like, he just like walked into a room with a bunch of like beeping lights and shit, and he just like, it's almost like someone just caught him like a deer in the headlights on the set of Star Trek or something.
Okay, so to set the stage for this scene that we're about to talk about, he dresses up like he's going to a gala, because there's some kind of a gala, soiree, whatever, going on at this palatial mansion that he's been staying at. So he is dressed very much like he was dressed during the famous scene in National Treasure 2. Or during National Treasure, not National Treasure. I don't remember National Treasure 2 very much. And then the lights go out. They get him to go out for like 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, they're out briefly, and Nicolas Cage makes his way to the, MacGuffin room of security cameras, and he has to put in some secret fucking flash drives or something. It's not important. But he gets there, and he has a guard coming, and like you said, Eric, if it's the set at the fucking SNL, it's the Continental, and Christopher Walken's like, hey, welcome to the Continental, and he's got this little patch on his hand that's meant to tranquilize people, and as soon as he puts it on his hand, you go, he's going to touch himself. He steps one fucking foot outside the door and immediately wipes sweat, and he goes, I think I just touched myself.
Like, I touched my forehead. Oh my God, I touched my forehead. Did you touch your forehead, or do you think you touched your... I don't know. I think I did. I'm pretty sure. Oh, now I'm getting slobbery.
I don't think I was ready for the slapstick. Like, it just didn't connect with me. I'm just like, oh no, we've been doing this for 10 minutes.
Here's the thing. Nicolas Cage has been in a lot of different movies that run the whole gauntlet of types of it. Like, you've got action, your action adventure. You've got some goofy shit in there too.
Well, he immediately collapses on the floor, and we get this little treat of him doing like a worm slither to try to get to the antidote, which is fucking really solid. And he passes out, and they're like, oh my God, how do we get him up? And they say, action! And he fucking shoots up like the Undertaker and slams this goddamn syringe into his fucking leg.
I will give the scene credit, is that once he gets like the adrenaline or whatever in him, for that moment, he's the Cage that I pictured that was going to be in this movie.
Like, my favorite part about all this whole sneaking scene where he has to like go out the window, like shimmy across the ledge, all the while kind of being like tranquilized a little bit, is he has to, like, Nicolas Cage, the actual actor, has to act like he doesn't know how to act being in a movie like National Treasure, like any of those. Like, he knows how to be a spy or a sneaky guy, but he has to act like he doesn't, and that's mind-blowing to me.
No, I'm right there with you, Chan, man. The whole time I'm watching this movie, I was just smiling, watching him do all this caricature of himself bullshit. And it was so fucking fun to me. I'm telling you right now, the fucking B-plot, the side actors other than Pedro Pascal, I didn't give a shit. But man, watching these two guys just fuck around, because he gets back out of this sticky situation, and he goes downstairs, and he has to stick around longer with Pedro, and he's like, I want to stay, I want to write this movie. And that leads us into literally one of the best fucking scenes, and that's the acid trip.
Yeah, he asked to stay because they tell him, oh, we think the girl is somewhere in the compound. You've got to see if you can stick around for a couple more days. And he's just like, I think we can work on this movie together. Let's do it.
And you feel kind of bad, right? Because, like, at this point, you know, Pedro Pascal doesn't know anything about the whole hijinks of the CIA, but what he does know is that he feels that he is now the bestest buddies with his hero, Nicolas Cage. So when Nick Cage is like, hell yeah, brother, let's fucking make this movie, but now let's, like, make this movie, let's be this movie, the look on his face when he just has that, like, fangirl moment was fucking flawless.
My favorite part about this whole scene, the little clip, is he's talking about, like, if we're going to work together, we need some divine intervention.
Yes.
It's LSD.
A part of me kind of wanted the conversation to continue as it was. It's like, oh, Nick, we have to, you know, we got to take LSD and enjoy the day. That's how we're going to write this movie. And then Nick Cage will be a little apprehensive, like, no, I don't know about that. And then Pedro Pascal just like, don't worry, we already put some in your coffee. So when it cuts back, it's just already vibrant colors. He's just like in the car.
I liked his reluctant fuck it. He was just standing there. He's like, we got to take this LSD. Pedro gets the dropper, puts it up to his nose. Nicolas Cage looks left, looks right. His head kind of shakes. He's debating. Fuck it. Opens his mouth. 2 drops in, and then it just immediately cuts to him grabbing that fucking girl's ass in choir, in Face Off, and he's like, hallelujah.
He has this internal debate for all of, like, 1 second.
Yeah.
He's like, man, all right, put it on my tongue.
Another opportunity to which I wish there were more Nick Cages, you know, younger Nick Cages he could turn to. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if he just turned to fucking H.I. McDonough and he's like, what should I do? And like H.I.'s already off his fucking rocker. So that's his answer right there.
What are we going to do? Let's go get Nathan Jr.
Yeah, that's the advice. Just go get Nathan Jr. Beautiful.
So they drive into this town, which is, I guess, the town on the island of Majorca. I don't know how that works, but it's a very quaint little Spanish town. He starts getting texts from Vivian, the CIA operative or whatever, and he's just like, can't do it now, I'm on acid.
The honesty's pretty solid, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I did like that there's a literal scene of texting. Like, Pedro's talking about this movie. He's like, it's going to be great. What's it about? And meanwhile, Nicolas Cage is like, tick, 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 tick. Hey, leave me alone. Tick, 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 tick. I'm tripping acid. Tick, tick, tick. What the fuck are you doing? Hey, like I said, I'm on acid. Bah. TTYL.
They get into some shenanigans here. This is a really fun scene, honestly, when they're talking and it's like, those two guys over there, they've been following us, they're watching us, that kind of thing.
Paranoid thriller angle.
Yeah, the paranoid thriller angle when they're just sort of like spitballing what kind of ideas they could have for this movie. It's like, hey, you see those two guys over there? They're following us.
He has a moment where he's like, you gotta check him out, but don't let him know. You gotta laugh or something when you do it. And Pedro Pascal turns and is laughing, and we get a shot from the back of him, and it almost seems normal. And then it shoots from the two people's perspective, and he looks like an absolute fucking maniac.
Yeah. He makes like one of the goofy faces like Jack Black did in Nacho Libre.
And he sounds like, did you guys ever play Final Fantasy X? There is a very well-known like fake laugh from Final Fantasy X that's just like shit on for the last, I don't know, 20 years. Pedro Pascal's laugh is like that fake laugh from Final Fantasy X.
Damn, he's just so good in this movie. I love him to death.
Yeah.
So they take off running because now in their heads they're being chased. And they come to this fucking 7-8 foot tall wall. Nicolas Cage can easily reach up and grab himself, and Pedro Pascal is like, use me as a human stool, and he boosts him up to the top, and Nicolas Cage is trying to pull him up, and this is such a fucking amazing moment.
Like, sometimes this movie is like gone in 60 seconds. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Sometimes this movie's Face Off. Right now, this is just Step Brothers.
I was getting some like Point Break vibes, to be honest. Because like at the end where he can't shoot his buddy, well at this point you can't leave him behind, and Nick Cage has that moment where he's just like screaming at the god, just ah!
It's almost like Ace Ventura 2 when they parody Cliffhanger, because he's holding Pedro and because he's just Nicolas Cage. This isn't a movie. Wink. He can't pull him up. And he's got him like fucking 6 inches off the ground. And Pedro's like, you gotta let me go. And he's like, ah, and lets him go. And it cuts so fast to like the slow-mo of Pedro's hair just for 1 instant poofing up from the wind. And then 10 seconds of Nick Cage screaming to the gods, like you said, Eric. And then it cuts back down and Pedro's there like, go on without me.
And this is one of the best parts of the movie. Not only does it work because of the comedy, but it's just like edited really well, seemingly, opposed to the rest of the movie, because like they have their little moment, they're screaming at the heavens, they left Pedro Pascal behind, quote unquote, and then it just zooms out. It's like, oh yeah, you just could have just walked around the whole time.
Yeah, that scene was honestly one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
It's definitely fucking solid, like a solid scene. If I had to pick a scene from this entire movie, that's it. That's so fucking good. It had me in tears laughing.
They run to get back to the car. I think Pedro Pascal, he get hit by a car just briefly.
Yes.
He gets fucking nailed.
Hilarious.
And that was like the hardest laugh it got out of me because it was so fucking surprising. Also, that poor stuntman is probably dead or in a wheelchair at best.
Just hops back up and keeps running. Yeah. But they get back to his car and he's like, I can't drive on acid. He's like, I'm also on acid. Yeah, but you're a better driver than I am. You did all your stunts and gone in 60 seconds. And he's like, well, yeah, that's true. All right.
No, he has a moment, and this happens multiple times in the film, where Pedro Pascal will call him out to do something that on DVD commentary he claims to have done.
I love this guy's character so much.
He goes, so the DVD commentary on Gone in 60 Seconds was wrong? And then you see Nicolas Cage just look at him on acid and then go, no. He has to fucking drive and he's just wrecking into everything.
No.
Well, they get back to the house and they tell him, like, the girl's on the compound or whatever. You got to poke around and find her. She's in this section of the house. Go there and find her. He gets back and he starts, like, poking around. There's this, like, secret room that you have to have, like, a passcode to get in.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that secret room is, like, covered in mirrors or whatever. Has this funky door. And after he's snooping around, he finds, the secret area, and Pedro Pascal's just already the fuck there. It's like he knew he would find it.
Now, I will say that this is something that they kept doing throughout the film, which I thought was very clever. They keep trying to subvert your expectations with the idea that Javi is onto him. And they do it again and again and again and again. And shocker, he's never on to him, but you feel like the conversation they're having is going to end in conflict. But it always ends with him just revealing more of how he's genuinely just a huge super fan.
Yeah, he tells him, he's like, do you want in there? Really? You want in there? All right, regardless of the consequences, but once you go in there, it could change the way you feel about me.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, that's this private zoo. It's about to get real fucking weird, fellas.
And it did.
Why does that sheep have a prolapse butthole?
Oh, it's like a windsock.
Oh wait, that's not a prolapsed windsocked butthole. That's just a life-size mannequin of Nick Cage from Face Off.
And that's even creepier.
I mean, fuck, dude. Like, I'll joke that this movie feels a little cheap, but like when they showed the mannequin of Nick Cage, I'm like, that looks like Madame Tussauds tossed that shit out for a replacement.
Yeah, he's like,
Dude.
how much did you pay for that? $6,000. I'll give you $20,000 just so that can not exist anymore.
No, he wanted it. He was like, that's grotesque. I want it.
He's tossing down fucking dinosaur bone money at him.
For real, he's just slamming down like, I got a fucking femur from a brontosaurus. I'll trade you even.
Can we talk about how incredible of a shrine this room is? He's got everything. He's got that Nicolas Cage pillow.
I mean, I thought that was pretty solid.
Everything.
I have a
In-
friend that has that pillow, actually.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, it's one of those sequin ones where, like, one side it's like pink or whatever, the other side is Nick Cage's face. I kind of had an idea, like, wouldn't it be pretty clever if, like, he wipes the face, but like he goes from Nick Cage's face to John Travolta's?
Oh my god, that would have
That's
been
a
brilliant.
great idea. Why does that not exist?
But no, you're right. Like, this room's filled with, like, the money from the box and all sorts of shit, and it culminates into that moment where they show Nick Cage's wax figure grotesque form with the two fucking golden pistols from Face Off.
It's something to behold.
Okay, so it's a moment that the movie handles really well. Like, I'm telling you, any scene with Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal is fucking gold. Even if it's like a little cringe, like, it doesn't matter. Like, at that point, they're their best. So like when they're in this room alone with this mannequin and those pistols, it's just like, this shouldn't be important, but like I'm on the fuck board with it.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you see those pistols and you already know they already carry like a weight to them. No pun intended with the title of this, but you see those pistols and they're already preloaded with like some kind of identity.
Yeah, I mean,
Again, no pun intended, but you know that there's something there. It's already there with you.
Yeah.
So you don't need to create a backstory for them.
At some point, these guys are going to have to face off.
Oh.
No. But I'm on board with you, Chandler. Like, those things look like if you had a chance to hold them in your hand, you would just look at them in your palms and just be like, yeah, I could eat that peach for hours.
Oh, dude, as soon as you get him, you're like, I'm Castor Troy!
All right, so I don't.
Next, he tries to get the kidnapping plot. That way he can try to question Javi about the kidnapping, and Javi brings his family down because he creatively is dying.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's like, oh, you want this kidnapping plot or whatever because you feel bad about your relationship with your own daughter. It's some psychological stuff.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah, you're right.
He straight up says, like, I'm gonna fix you, Nick Cage. He's so sincere in wanting to help Nick Cage and thus helping their movie. He brings his entire family down from California so they can have a powwow.
Because it's bleeding into the work.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they have the, like you said, the big powwow around the table. It's got to be about you, Dad. And he's like, no, I'm really trying. And he's like crying. And even Pedro Pascal's like, you're full of shit.
Like, Javi's like trying to play like a therapist, but like they're not quite breaking through. But at some point, there's actually a little bit of breakthrough, I feel like.
I mean, perhaps the breakthrough, I know it's part of the story, but to me was unimportant. I didn't care about his family. What I cared about was the 10 seconds that happens after we get to see them, and they have this little moment of him, I guess, making up with his family. And that's where Pedro and his fucking cousin are eating Fruit Loops, and he's like, look, either you kill Nick Cage or I kill you. And you're like, oh shit, it's going down, and boy, oh boy, it's so fucking good. It's so good. Like, I was I don't want to fan out too much. I literally love this fucking movie. I loved it.
Yeah, this is where we finally get the idea that Pedro's character, Javier, is not actually like this big mob crime boss kind of guy. And it's actually his cousin. Javi is just the figurehead or something. He's somehow related, takes his money, lives in this big mansion, just to sort of take all the heat off of what's actually going on with his cousin elsewhere. Javi actually didn't even know until this conversation. He's like, wait, so you're the one that kidnapped the president's daughter or something like that? Shit. All right.
And there's more of this back and forth that you think that they're going to explain it to each other. And he's like, let's go to the cliffs. Let's work on the third act and maybe the big finale of the movie. And you're like, oh shit, they're going to go do this. And they fanboy so hard for each other because they're so fucking in love with their bromance that they swap shoes and can't kill each other because they love one another too much.
They're both so filled with grief that they're both sent out to sort of like kill the other who they've grown so close to. But Nick is like, I like those shoes. And Javi's like, I like those shoes. You want to trade?
After they swap shoes, they have this moment a few seconds later where they're shooting and whatnot because bad guys show up, of course, because they knew that Pedro couldn't kill Nick Cage. They show up and he's like, okay, all we got to do is run over to there and we can jump in the Jeep and get away. And he goes, and you got me in these fucking penny loafers with no ankle support. And he's like, you said you liked them. And they're just bickering. It's beautiful. And he has to convince Nicolas Cage, again with DVD commentary from, I think this one was National Treasure, to run to the Jeep. And he's like, okay, I'm going. He goes, wait, you're going? I'm going too, because he can't let Nicolas Cage go alone. It's fucking beautiful.
I do love the idea that Pedro Pascal, you know, we've mentioned it, has to kill Nick Cage. Nick Cage has the inkling to kill Pedro Pascal. Instead of just following through, they just team up versus all evil.
Yeah, like the Vivian or whoever, the CIA people are like, hey, to get out of there alive, Nick, you're going to have to kill him. And he's just like, well, I guess I've got to do that. When they actually get out there and start like beating around the bush a little bit, having a conversation, did you all notice like the opera singing? It seemed very John Woo to me.
I guess
Amber brought that up. She said it was missing doves. Whenever he pulled out the guns, he's like, you have my guns. He goes, your guns? These are my guns.
Needed some doves for sure.
That's what I was kind of hoping for. Like, I kind of had the inkling like something like this was going to happen around the middle third of the movie. I was like, okay, we're going to go from just like a movie that kind of feels like his cheaper directed DVD sequels or whatever. And then like the last third will definitely be the homage to 90s action.
And it is.
We also get like the explanation like, no, I'm not a bad guy. It's my cousin that's a bad guy. I'm just here living in this mansion and I can't even like live my life because I really want to be with Gabriella, who we haven't even mentioned at all, but she's basically like the caretaker for the mansion or something. I don't know who she is. Nick's like, you're into Gabriella? And he's like, how the fuck did you not know that? I thought you were in the CIA.
Dun dun dun. Bit of a missed opportunity when he was really surprised about Gabriella. It would be fucking hilarious if like once he learned that he was in love with her, Nick Cage was just like, oh, Gabriella? That chick I've been banging this entire time I've been on vacation on your island, you know?
Oh, then he wouldn't have the redemption arc with the family, but it's still funny.
Maybe he could wrangle like a little mini orgy.
Yeah.
I mean,
almost as
daughter.
Oh, almost as damn it. Anyways, he puts on a fucking disguise kit and it's wondrous.
Good lord, dude.
The idea is like through all this, it was supposed to be like a merging between two infamous crime families. You know, the one that Pedro Pascal's cousin runs, and then this old one from Italy or something. Nick Cage is gonna dress up like this old Italian mob boss. That's what we're gonna do here.
He looks fucking ridiculous, but it works so good.
I have seen Nick Cage proclaim that he is a vampire. I have seen Nick Cage proclaim that he is a cop from the port of New Orleans. I kind of really super wanted him to just hand this up 110%. Like, I wanted him to be like, tomato, put the pasta in the boil and it come out your butt. You know, I just wanted like the full absurd Italianness.
This was a take on Adaptation, is what this was when he played himself and his brother in a fat suit.
Okay.
See, I thought that the whole the extra Nick, the little Nicky that I've been calling him, I thought that was the take on adaptation. But I mean, it might be both.
That's just clearly his ego.
Yeah, either that or cocaine.
Cocaine.
Or
Cocaine
Kano
is
Road
ego.
Ghost.
So he goes inside. There's a bit of a tussle. A few bluffs happen. And they get freed up, basically, to go and explore the compound where they instantaneously stumble upon the hostages. And this results in a very fun tussle that has zero sense. But man, it just works because he reads his fucking script from the beginning of the movie, and he's just giving this dude the fucking business, and then gives him the face-off leg stab with the knife.
Oh yeah. Did we even mention that his actual daughter got kidnapped? Because we have two hostages now: the president's daughter and Nick Cage's daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say
really
we didn't
doesn't.
mention it because who gives a shit?
Yeah, we're just here for the bromance.
100%. And boy, oh boy, does it happen, because he's about to get killed, and who shows up? It's your boy Javi. And Nick Cage jumps the fuck up and starts screaming at the top of his lungs that he's Nick motherfucking Cage. And the fucking bad guy is like, I am getting taken hostage by Nick Cage. He looks so disappointed.
Just dejected.
Like when they're laying there, gun to his head or whatever, and he starts reading off, like, what is that from? Is that from a movie that I should know?
No, I think it's just, it's just a Nick Cage moment in the vein of Nick Cage.
Well, the guy with the gun holding it on him has to be as confused as I am, because he's just like, what the fuck is Nick Cage doing right now? Why is he saying these words? This doesn't... Can we cut? Is this in a movie? How many movies deep are we? This is confusing, man.
Yes. We have incepted into our 7th Nick Cage film.
Yeah.
But it does result in a very fun moment wherever everyone runs back to the Jeep, and the girl they saved, who was watching Con Air in the beginning, sees that she was rescued by fucking Nicolas Cage. She has this look on her face like, nice!
Nicolas Cage? That's fucking cool.
What a coinky dink. I was just watching your movie before I was brutally beaten and taken away. Isn't that nuts?
And like on the getaway, Nick is in there. All right, they're trying to scoot on away from this, and he's like, "How you doing, honey? You hungry? Do you want some apples? Javi's got Macintosh and Honeycrisp. Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Let's drive faster." This movie's fucking ridiculous.
Meanwhile, Javi is literally diving out of the fucking Jeep, rolling on the ground. Nick Cage just stops the Jeep and goes, "Get back in the Jeep. Let's go." He goes, "No, I will stall them so you can make it to the embassy." And he's like, "What? No, just come with me." He goes, "No, someone must stay." And it just culminates in this big firefight where Javi gets shot. We get a reminder that there is a knife in the back of the car. And it comes down to every vehicle getting fucking destroyed, basically, until... it's just Nicolas Cage and the main baddie, and they crash into the U.S. Embassy. And the way they wrapped this film was fucking brilliant. It's very Austin Powers, and I loved it.
I actually thought, I didn't know what this was. I thought it was like a bank or something. I didn't realize until I saw the American flag that was an embassy, and that's why all these guys had guns.
Well, it might have been a bank. It's where they shot it, but they had to do something.
Wait, is there even a U.S. embassy on Mallorca?
So the way this wraps up, though, is the bad guy jumps out. He's got a gun on Nicolas Cage, and he's like, "If anybody moves, the Nicolas gets it." And and out of fucking nowhere, the daughter's like, "Dad!" and throws the fucking throwing knife. This is all quote-unquote happening in real life. The knife twists end over end, passing over multiple embassy guards into Nicolas Cage's hand. As he grabs it, we slam, and it turns, and it's no longer that villain, but just a generic villain. And Nicolas Cage stabs him in the chest and lets out a triumphant, "Yeah!" Camera pans back to show the family, who's not the family, the villain who's not the villain, the embassy people who aren't the embassy people. And then you see that this is just the movie that him and Javi made. And I went, yes!
Mind is blown.
And there it is, everybody. Nicholas Pussy.
It just cuts to the movie theater. Everyone claps.
Beyonce's there.
They do have one more phenomenal line at the wrap up. Everyone's at the after party, smoozing. It's all happy, good ending. And they go, Dad, what's up with that belt buckle? It's a giant tarantula. He goes, James, my dresser, he did get the one with the bee on it. And I was like, not the bees. You're just like, all right, there it is.
I've never even seen that version of that movie, and I loved it. I was like, ah!
Yeah, he said the thing. He said the thing.
Called the shit poop.
No. There's can't talk, gotta poop.
Can't talk, gotta poop. All right, so everything wraps up into this tight little package. Nick Cage finds a greater appreciation for spending time with his family. They're chilling at home afterwards. He's like, you know what, kiddo? Let's watch a movie. You get to pick this time. What does she pick? Dad, have you ever seen Paddington 2?
Single tear.
Dude, I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. It's got a lot of shit that didn't matter. But this movie was what, like an hour 40 maybe?
Yeah.
And any time that I spent watching this was well worth it. And it didn't feel like it was that long because anytime I got to see Nicolas Cage, I was all fucking in. And let me just say, Nicolas Cage is back. Not that he ever went anywhere.
I'm totally glad you loved it. I totally see how you loved it, but man, this movie was flat to me. Like, the whole payoff of the movie within the movie, and that's what the movie really is, just didn't land. And the journey to get there was just muddled with these awful B-plots, this awful fiction. The only thing that this movie has is the bromance, in my opinion, between Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, because I feel like this is what the movie should have been about. I feel like this should have been less of the bullshit fiction and like an actual redemption for Nick Cage himself. In fact, the only way that I could see me liking this movie in the incarnation that it is if they didn't cast Nick Cage as Nick Cage, but John Travolta. And that is what would have been a masterpiece.
If all this movie has is the bromance, I am all in for it. Honestly, like the other stuff, like the CIA stuff and the whatnot, I don't care about it. It's fine that it's there. It gives the movie a little bit of wheels, a little bit of reason to progress along. But the bromance is what I'm here for. Like, I want to see these guys together again. I don't know how that would work out. I want to see these guys together again because as long as those two are together, on screen together, I'm having a great time.
Well, there you have it. That's the unbearable weight of massive talent. If you have any strong feelings about the movie or the show, leave it in the comment section below.
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Be sure to hit the little bell icon so you get your reminders when we've got another one brewing.
So we got that Instagram, that Facebook, that Twitter. We got Reddit. Come on down now. We got all kinds of that shit. You can find us anywhere podcasts are available. Give it a shot. I mean, we're not that bad. And, you could tell us you want us to review Paddington 2, maybe. We're listening. Throw it down there in the comments.